So when do you think we get us peasants get the actual V14 release? Do they need to wait any longer? I mean, it's to me, it seems like it's ready to go.
I think they want to get it out to the fleet first before they turn on unsupervised, for sure, to collect enough data. Yeah. I think the peasants, so all of us, which are still extremely fortunate to be able to do this, beyond fortunate, we will probably get it no later than next month, end of next month. I would say by Thanksgiving. I think we'll have a broad rollout of 14 supervised. Mm-hmm. And then I think latest mid next year we'll have unsupervised.
Okay, those are conservative. I'd be disappointed, if we don't get it until Thanksgiving.
Unsupervised?
No, just 14.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. So I'd say end of this month. I would hope that normal FSD purchaser subscribers would get V14, and I guess I probably agree with you on unsupervised by middle of next year. I might optimistically kind of hope for Q1 at some point, but wouldn't surprise me at all if it's Q2. I think if it goes much later than that, I'd be a bit disappointed. But I think really from here, it's of course I want FSD unsupervised just because that's going to be a better user experience and everything like that. But as an investor and kind of looking at Tesla as a stock, like, to me, that gets to the question of how quickly can you scale robotaxis? Because if you're willing to give unsupervised to your normal users wherever they might be in the entire country, but then you can definitely do robotaxis everywhere in the country too. So I think they're going to roll out unsupervised robotaxis with no safety monitor or safety observer, or whatever the heck we're calling them these days, to a lot more cities, get a lot more data that way before they go like real unsupervised to the just normal drivers.
And you mean real unsupervised, meaning like I can go in the backseat and take a nap? Yeah,
you can watch Netflix, whatever. Yep.
I agree 100% with that. I think and this is what's so fascinating about this rollout is that it's like you have different modes of this software that all operate simultaneously, and they're all very like synergistic, right? And I hate using the word synergy, but I feel like Tesla's like the best example of synergy.
Well, I'm an MBA, so I love it. I'm actually legally obligated to use that word once a day.
Excuse number 2 to take you guys off air. You messed up the intro, and now you're an MBA. I find out you're a freaking MBA. No. So they have this flywheel effect of the fleet of people that have the cars improves robotaxi, which is the driverless rideshare network, and that also improves the fleet because of how many different types of interactions you may encounter when you don't have somebody behind the steering wheel and pedal. That's one technical challenge that Tesla also is solving for in Austin specifically, right? Because the cars are now running into issues, quote unquote issues, or real issues, where you don't have the person behind the steering wheel and pedal interacting to solve it. You're actually getting additional data to see how does this car actually solve this situation that it wouldn't typically have the chance to solve, because you might have, say, an anxious driver behind the steering wheel that has a different sort of like this spectrum of when they feel comfortable stepping in or not. So you get a lot of different ways of testing the limits of this platform. And one would have to think that you're going to have a lot less tolerance when people are behind the steering wheel and pedal, because if you're behind the steering wheel and pedal, you still have to, you still are responsible for the car. And I think once you're yanked out of that seat and you're put into the passenger seat, the dynamic changes completely. Yeah. Because you're you no longer have if you do something stupid on the road and you're behind the steering wheel and pedal, even if it's unsupervised, you're going to be like, oh crap, I should have stepped in and not piss off this guy. Whereas if you're in the back seat, you're like, it wasn't me, bro. Like, look at I'm in the back seat. I don't know why you're getting mad at me. It was the car.
I am so looking forward to people's minds being blown, because for at least a year after this goes out, people are going to be like, what? Where's the driver?
100%.
Oh, I can't wait, because still so many times I'm just sitting there with my arms in my lap or on my chest or something like that, and I'm driving by, people are thanking me for being courteous, and I'm just
you're taking credit. It's I would have been like, it wasn't me, bro. That's okay. Let me ask you this. What do you think comes first? Austin expansion of robotaxi? Oh, let me ask you 3 questions. Which one do you think comes first? The expansion of the geofence in Austin, the removal of the safety rider in Austin, or Arizona going live?
Ooh, I would say Arizona going live. Because I don't think you need to expand the geofence in Austin. It's already pretty big given the number of vehicles they have there. And I think they'd want some more data, more proof in other geographies before they actually do remove that safety observer. I think it's coming, soon-ish. I would think within the next 3 months or so, safety observers get removed, in whatever cities are operational by then. But yeah, so I think it's, remove the safety drivers, expand the quantity of vehicles in each one of those areas, because then you'll be able to do a lot more vehicles, and then expand the geofence. And then I think I forgot what your third thing was.
It was Arizona.
Arizona, yeah.
So which one do you think is the bigger catalyst? Removal of safety rider or unsupervised FSD in people's cars?
I think removal of well, it's tough because I think the removal of the monitors is going to come first, and so that's going to be a big signal that it's ready-ish for a lot larger scale. But like, to me, it's like the bigger, whenever you and I can just use our own personal vehicles and have it be unsupervised, where we're literally in the back seat. That to me is like a very obvious catalyst that like it's solved and done, and like demand for Tesla vehicles and FSD is through the roof, and robotaxi is scaling immediately with like massive earnings implications. So like that's going to be the bigger catalyst, but I do think the market is going to kind of move ahead of that, if I had to guess.
How much regulatory has to be changed for you and I to be able to sit in the backseat of our car and let our cars drive us anywhere?
Well, the big one that comes to my mind is like, you've got to figure out insurance at that point. So if you do get in a crash, like I think Tesla has to assume that liability, right?
They have to.
So like, there's going to be, which I think also implies is that like you have to have Tesla insurance, and they're not operational in all these different states yet. So I think there's some real questions around exactly how that's going to work. So for like those types of logistics might, get this a little bit muddied up. And we haven't heard an update on Tesla insurance in a very long time. So I'm sure they're thinking about this and have been making some moves behind the scenes. But at the same time, that's like a very important thing that is like going to have to be in place before this really can go wide. I agree.
And you know what this makes me think? Like, and I hate bringing this up again.
Synergies?
Synergies, Mr. MBA. Looking at him so smart. No, the Cybercab, because the Cybercab is tied into this, obviously.
Yep.
They're gonna have to sell it with a steering wheel and pedal. They're gonna have to. I flip flop on this all the time. I'm such a flip flopper when it comes to this, big time, because one day I'm convinced that regulations going to catch up because you have Duffy in office. Then I'm like, well, but how do we know that for sure? Like why are you waiting on this guy to give you a green light? And then I'm like, well, yeah, but if you really think about it, the first year or so of scaling, if they have like 4 or 5 geofences that are like 30 miles of a radius, you can just overrun those those places with just a massive amount of robotaxi, of Cybercab specifically, and then that's going to give you enough landmass to not have idle capacity. But then I'm like, okay, but then what happens in year 3, year 4, when you're pumping out 2 million cars per year, and Uber's entire active fleet right now is like 1 million active drivers? In theory, you can displace Uber with half a year's build-up capacity. So it's like, okay, but
well, in theory, you can actually do it overnight by going out to the existing fleet, right?
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, where are all these cars going to go? Like, are we really confident that we're going to go like completely driverless in 3? It sounds like if the Cybercab doesn't have a steering wheel and pedal, the signal that sends, if that ever changes, the signal that sends is like, hey, we are going, like, this is happening in 3 years. In 3 years, the dominant form of the primary form of transportation in most metropolitan areas in the United States will be driverless Cybercabs. That's the signal that sends. And if that's the signal, like, nobody is expecting that. Nobody is expecting that. And so, and then in my head, I'm like, that feels, I don't know.
It also, like, to me, that's the natural progression of the way that this should go. I was listening to the Acquired podcast this weekend, and the guys are in the Bay Area. They were talking about how I think they said that the majority of rides in the Bay Area now are actually done by Waymo, not Uber. And so like when they're actually going out, like they'll check Waymo first, and then if they can't get a Waymo for whatever reason, then they'll go to an Uber. But like they're saying, like the way that they use it is actually different now. Like they'll put their car seat into the Waymo, but they would never do that with an Uber. You know, they'll like get some like bigger bits of like cargo and stuff like that. So because you don't feel rude for like inconveniencing somebody to like, you know, take 2 minutes to install a car seat.
Which podcast was this, Matt?
It's Acquired. Have you heard that one?
No. I'm gonna listen to this after here.
It's phenomenal. So they just give like, you know, business history kind of story. So they were doing one on Google and the history of that. So I think it's like third part of that series. It's a phenomenal podcast. They, you know, I think you'd love it.
So let me just say back what you just said. So in the Bay Area, there's now a preference, instead of using Uber, the preference is to use Waymo, even though it comes at a premium. There was a study that came out, and so they cost like 20 to 30% more than Uber, I think, is like the average ride or something. So even though it's more expensive, people are opting to use Waymo because it's a better experience, because it allows you to, you know, not be so like worried about what the driver is going to think, safer because you trust to put your child in the car, private, obviously, because, you know, the car is all to yourself. Oh, how is that not the biggest signal that the player with scale will dominate everything? How is that not the greatest signal of all time?
Well, I think that's exactly what like I was actually shocked to kind of hear this, and like, you know, just how the individual use case is different, because you can have like a business call and like have it on speaker or whatever, or like, you know, not needing to be worried about sharing confidential information, whatever, like all these little benefits that right now they're paying a premium for. So what happens when you get all those same benefits and you're actually undercutting on price?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's so obvious. Right? Yeah.
Are we going crazy, Matt? Okay.
We're part of a cult, so we do have to admit that.
Damn it, you're right. I was actually Peter Boghossian. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a guy that does content, but he's a professor. I think he used to do philosophy, but he invited me on his podcast. We did an hour and a half. We just took robotaxis all over Austin, and we just talked about all his questions he had about robotaxi and AI and human robots and technology and all that stuff. And the one thing that his producer showed him my videos about like how I think Uber is going to is completely and utterly cooked because of this dynamic we just described. And he kept asking me like, how is Uber not the most obvious short of all time? Not financial investment advice. How is Uber not the most obvious short of all time? I'm like, bro, I'm not going to give you investment or financial advice. I'm not going to tell you to short anything. He's like, yeah, but how is it not the most? And I'm like, bro, I know, I agree, I get it. I'm not going to tell anybody to do that, but it's like that dynamic is so hard to ignore when you realize it and when you see it, and when you mention it to people, like when this is like probably a sign that I'm probably a little bit on the spectrum, because I'm trying to talk to normal people about how Tesla's going to like put Uber aside and it's going to like, dude, you don't understand the technological stuff. And they're like, whatever, like, okay, sure, I believe you. But it's like, don't you understand how fundamentally crazy this is? Like the entire rideshare world in the United States is going to be upside down at the flip of a switch. And one software update, one app is going to get deleted, and then another one's going to be installed because it's cheaper, safer, more convenient, more private, more comfortable, more consistent, and more available. And you don't have drivers canceling on you because your ride might not be beneficial or make sense for them to do. Yeah. I'm very ranty today, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's good. You're passionate about it, and I am too. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like we're at the cusp of this really big moment. And I mean, we've obviously been in the Tesla community for so many years that, but it was always this like abstract thing that like maybe in a year or two, Tesla's going to figure it out. And it seems like now we're like really just like right at that inflection point where like it's about to go like totally vertical in terms of capability and, you know, Tesla's economics. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, same.